Hey guys, Cal here, and today, because of a viewer request, I am standing here with the 2022 Honda Ridgeline HPD. I remember how excited I was when Motor Trend did their test of this back in 2021. They had their first test of it on their website in the same exact colorway with the red and the gold wheels, and I thought it was the coolest looking thing we had seen from Honda in the last few years because it looks so different from a lot of the other cars in their lineup. So today, let's go over what the HPD package gets you on the Ridgeline. All right, guys, starting off in the front end of your Ridgeline HPD, you will see we do have the LED headlights surrounded by the LED daytime running lights. And then in the center of the headlamp housing, you have your halogen lights. And then down below that, you do have your halogen turn signals. And then all the way on the bottom, you do have your LED fog lights. And then right above those, you do have these really cool looking vents that not only add some cooler looks, but also provide perhaps some better aerodynamics and some cooling for the brakes. And then you will see the grille here has a different design. This is the only thing on the front end that's different on the HPD model. And the grille, whereas on a normal Ridgeline, you might see some horizontal slats all the way down. On the Ridgeline HPD, you will see this more aggressive kind of angular pattern to make the front of the HPD package a little bit more muscular looking. And then opening the hood of your Ridgeline HPD, you will notice you're like, oh my God, why is it so heavy? And then you also wonder why you paid over $40,000 for a truck and Honda can't even give you some struts to hold the hood up for you. So you do have to get your little prop bar out and put it in like that, and that will reveal your 3.5 liter V6. All right, so now that we have finally gotten the hood of the Ridgeline open, you will see that the 3.5 liter V6 below the hood puts out 280 horsepower and 262 pound-foot of torque. That's all routed to a 9-speed transmission, so thank God we're not having to put up with a CVT transmission quite yet in a vehicle of this size. So that's really nice to see. So taking a look at the side of your Ridgeline here, you will see with the HPD package, you get these really obnoxious, really crazy, big looking fender flares. Now, if you were looking at a standard Ridgeline, this would be a more under the radar fender flare. It's very thin. Whereas on the HPD package, because it's the off-road oriented or off-road styled truck, you do have that big fender flare right on the side here. So I like that. I think it kind of makes the truck. It gives it that big personality. And then down below here, you do have these 18-inch gold painted alloy wheels. I think these are really sweet looking. I think it just really makes this whole truck pop no matter what color you get it in. So I really like these. And also those are wrapped in the Firestone Destination all-season tires. These are a 245/60/18 for the tire size. Taking a look at the rest of the side of your Honda Ridgeline here, you will see you do have these really nice LED turn signal indicators on the outside of the mirrors here, as well as some body color side mirrors as well. Now, this particular trim model did come with the chrome window trim and the chrome door handles. And then just like we have those big body cladding fenders running down the side of the truck, you also have the body cladding running down the whole underside of the truck there to protect it from any rock chips or any things like that. Also good for the Northeast states where you might get some rust down there in the wintertime. And then the only unfortunate part about the Ridgeline as a truck is it's one of the few pickup trucks on the market where you do have to go inside to open your fuel doors. We'll have a little button right on the floor inside to open that up, pop that open at the gas station. And then the last piece of what makes the HPD different is on the bedside back here, and that is your big Honda Performance Development decal right there. And I think that, in addition to the rims and those big side flares, it just gives this whole truck such a big personality. All right, guys, so here we are at the back end of our Ridgeline here, and you will see we do have these LED running lights back here wrapped around your halogen turn signals, and right below that, you'll find your halogen reverse lights. And on the tailgate itself, you will see you do have the chrome Honda badge right in the center, your chrome Ridgeline and all-wheel drive badging down below. And then we have the fifth and final part that makes the HPD package different, and that is your HPD badging back here, letting anyone in traffic behind you know that you have the HPD package Ridgeline. And then if we come down to the trailer hitch here, according to a few online sources, this can tow 5,000 pounds, so that's not a bad number, but it is on the lower side of what most mid-sized trucks are able to tow. But I think that is due in part to its independent suspension on all four corners. And then if we drop the tailgate here, which this particular one is a little heavy to drop, but when you lift it back up, it gets much lighter. And then Of course, this is Honda's party trick back here with the Ridgeline. If we lift this little trunk up like this, if you take a look in there, it really is pretty deep. I mean, I would say, not that it's really saying much, but you know, you really do have room for maybe $200 or $300 worth of groceries in there. You can fit a pretty good sized shopping trip in that trunk. And it's really nice because what that does for you is, if you're somebody who maybe you don't like the look of a tonneau cover, you don't want a tonneau cover, you can just do with this and use that as your trunk and not necessarily have to get a tonneau cover for your bed. All right, guys, so here we are in the trunk of the Ridgeline here. Now you will see that this trunk is big enough to fit a full-size man. I am about 6'2", so we do have enough room for a full-grown adult in here. And interestingly enough, if you do somehow get locked in the trunk of your Ridgeline, there is a little trunk release button right here that you can open the trunk up if you accidentally lock yourself in the trunk of your Ridgeline. Lastly, guys, we're sitting in the bed of the Ridgeline here, and it is, I have to say, quite a shallow bed. It's one of the shallowest pickup truck beds I've seen. That is due in part to the spare tire being right underneath my feet here. It's right down here, as we just saw from our trunk clip. And then you do have your trunk here. So even though that trunk is a really neat feature, and I do think it's worth it. I mean, if you're looking at the Ridgeline for the purpose of that trunk, I think that losing some of this bed depth is worth it because that's a really cool feature. But it is to note back here because it is quite a shallow bed. I mean, if I just kind of put my arm down like this, really, it's almost like the bed is only as deep as like my forearm here, basically. So it is quite a shallow bed, and they do have tie downs everywhere back here. They got tie downs 2 back here, 2 over on that side. They got 2 over here. They got 1 on the floor, 1 on the bedside. So there is no shortage of tie downs back here. Covering the Ridgeline's last party trick, which we all love, is the barn door tailgate. So we'll open that right up like that. And what's cool about this is this makes that access to put the groceries into your trunk that much easier, because you can just come right over here and open that up like that, and you are right here. There's no liftover height. It literally is just right there. Okay, guys, now we've made it to the back seat of the Honda Ridgeline here, and I'm sitting behind myself where I just was. I didn't have to move the front chair at all, and for me being 6'2", I actually have a little bit more room than I expected back here. I only have to straddle the chair just a little bit, and I'm sitting pretty comfortably. The leather seats back here are super comfy. The rear seat passengers also have on each door their own little cup holder. I was able to fit my Yeti 26-ounce tumbler in there pretty well, and the rear seat passengers also have behind them a sliding power window back here, so that's nice to see. A little place where they can put some drinks also in the middle here, although these are pretty small cup holders in the middle, whereas they're a lot bigger on the door. These are maybe big enough for like a 12-ounce can. Also, lastly, what I wanted to cover is Honda's magic rear seat. It is just absolutely massive. I'll overlay a clip of what it looks like when you fold the seats up. And it is just amazing. I mean, you could probably fit like a small BMX bike or a couple coolers back here, and it is a pretty big storage area back here when you fold those seats up. I would say it's one of the bigger ones in the mid-size truck market. All right, guys, here we are in the front seat now of the Ridgeline, and to my left on the door panel, you will find your little button down below to open your fuel door, as well as some buttons for your memory seats, which you have 2 options for your memory seats to set. And they are actually very easy to set, not like other cars where it's sort of a nightmare to set your memory seats. In this one, it is actually very easy. And then as we move over to the steering wheel, I do have a nice, pretty durable feeling leather like we feel in most Honda vehicles. It feels like it's going to last for many years to come. So you got that nice leather on there, great 10 and 2 grips, pretty comfy 9 and 3 grips on there as well. And you do have some little paddle shifters behind the steering wheel if for some reason you feel like you need to paddle shift your Ridgeline. And then right in front of there, I do have my buttons for the radio. I can switch the radio station or what song I'm listening to on my playlist. I can turn the volume up and down. I can also hit a little pages button right up top and switch from the navigation over to the phone and into the music. And then there's also a little button right below that that will allow me to switch my source directly from the steering wheel. And then a button to activate my phone's voice functions and pick up or hang up phone calls. And behind that is the heated steering wheel button. And then on the right side of the steering wheel, I do have all the controls for my cruise control right there. I have the button for the driver information center right below that, where I can see my trips, my direction, my little compass, my tire pressures, my oil life. And then around that, you do have the digital speedometer right above that, a nice analog tachometer, and then some analog gauges to the right of that for the fuel and the engine temperature. And then lastly, to the left of the steering wheel, you do have your buttons to put your Ridgeline into econ mode, so the accelerator doesn't respond as aggressively, so you can save some fuel. And then you do have some buttons to turn off your parking sensors, your lane keep assist, your forward collision alert, and also to turn your traction control off. So taking a look at the center stack of our Honda Ridgeline here, you will see that the first app in line is your navigation, and that is a built-in navigation. So that means if you lose reception on your phone, you do have that built-in navigation right there, so that's always going to work for you. Second in line, you have your phone app, which is going to give you your contacts, your recent calls, your favorites, all that kind of good stuff in there. And then if you go your third app in line, your audio app, every time you open the audio app, it seems that it always asks me if I want AM, FM, Sirius, Bluetooth, whatever. So it seems to ask me that every single time I open it, which is a little frustrating. And then this is the next important app. It's Truck Bed Audio. And what that does is when you turn this on, I don't know where the speakers are. I'm gonna maybe have to do some research online, because I was just back there for a couple minutes trying to find them. I opened the trunk. I couldn't find the speakers, but they're quite loud back there. Like, you could really have a party in the bed of this thing. And then right below our radio, we do have our climate control. And this, we do have the dual zone climate right here. And then you have all your fan adjustments right down here as well. You can turn the air on and off, and you got your fan speed button right in the middle. And then you can turn the rear air on or off with that button right there. And then down below that, you do have your heated seat buttons right there. Now, I will say these heated seats are really not that hot. They're really not the hottest heated seats I've ever had, even when they're on setting 3. They are a little weak. And then right down here, you do have your wireless cell phone charger, which is really nice. So you do have that there. And it does work well, even with the life-proof case I have on my phone here. And then you have your 12-volt charger down here, as well as your USB charger. And then you have your cup holders, which they do hold my 26-ounce Yeti. They almost fit, and then it just starts to tip over like that. So it fits better in the back than it does up front, just to kind of give you guys a size reference. And then one of my complaints on the Ridgeline here is just the shifter. I'm sure after maybe a few months of ownership, you would get used to the dynamics of it, and you would just get used to using it. To put it in drive, you got this little button here, you got the neutral button there. To put it in reverse, you got to hit this little reverse lever back like that. And then to put it in park, you just hit the P right up top. So I'm not really a fan of these button style ones. This is sort of similar to what we see in like the GMC Terrain. And then below that, you have the button to shut the auto stop start off right there. And then right behind the cup holders and the shifter, you do have this little slider door that you can open right up or close like that, with a nice little tray for maybe some pens or other things that you can slide forward or back right there. And then of course, right in here, it is a pretty deep cubby actually. I'm almost able to get my forearm in there. If I take our trusty Yeti here and toss that in there, it does hide it away pretty good. So it is a pretty big storage compartment in here, fairly large, especially for this size truck. It's bigger than what I saw in the Nissan Frontier. And it does also have a USB charger down there, and then it also does have a 12-volt charger in there as well. Lastly, in the Ridgeline in the front seat here, I just wanted to cover storage trays, as far as like places to put your phone or toss other things when you get into the truck. When I was in the Nissan Frontier, that truck had a pretty good amount of trays to toss your things when you got into the Frontier, but in the Ridgeline here, it is a little bit more limited. Whereas in the Frontier, I did have a little tray up top to toss my phone. Here, it's just kind of a tweeter speaker up on the dashboard. And then they do have this little pocket in here where maybe if you have a regular sized phone or a regular sized iPhone, that would fit in there, but the Plus models or your bigger Samsung phones with a case will not quite fit in there. And then above the center stack, guys, you will find your rear view mirror with the home link buttons on there, so you can hook your garage doors up to those 3 buttons there to have access to those. And then you do have your button for your power sunroof right there. And then besides that, you do have a little sunglass holder that also, if you bring it halfway back up, doubles as a mirror for the kids and the back seat. And then if we put that back and check out our sun visor, at least for being an over $40,000 truck, Honda does give you some very 1990s looking visor lights in the mirror. Okay guys, we're gonna take the Ridgeline out onto the road here and see how she does on some acceleration. So we'll do it from a roll here. Ah, man, we got a red light. So doing a little acceleration run from a dead stop here, we'll go. Woo! Okay, wow, that's pretty good. She gets up and goes real quick. So 0 to 60 is pretty good on the 3.5 liter V6 mated to that 9-speed transmission. It's a 6.2 to 6.3 second 0 to 60. So that's pretty good considering that the 0 to 60 on the Nissan Frontier was right around 7.9 seconds. So pretty good 0 to 60 for a compact or mid-sized truck, whatever you want to call this thing. The only thing is that I will say that the steering is pretty numb on this. I mean, not that I expect much communication out of a pickup truck steering wheel, but the steering is pretty numb. Now, the seat is pretty comfy. I will say that the Honda leather that's in here feels pretty good. Not like the greatest lower back support, but overall, I'm not really liking any pain, and it is a pretty comfy driver's seat. And then as for road noise in here, I will say that it is pretty quiet in the cabin overall. Very calm. There's not really any crazy road noise in here. And then as for bumps in the Ridgeline, I do feel some bumps in the road, but overall it tunes those bumps out pretty well. So you can feel the bumps, but it doesn't really let you feel them, if that makes sense. It kind of smooths them out. So we'll say that this takes those potholes and those sewer grates pretty well here in the Ridgeline. Forward visibility is pretty good. Everything's easy to see. The hood line isn't too high. And what's nice about it is, as far as the width of the vehicle feels, it does feel like a pretty slim vehicle. Like I would expect a CR-V or like a Honda Passport to feel this wide. So it doesn't really feel any wider than one of those. So for that reason, it does feel very maneuverable and easy to park. And it is very easy to park and back this thing into parking spots. Now, what I will say is, as far as turning radius goes in parking lots and on small side streets for trying to do like a K-turn, the turning radius in this is not as good as I would expect. For something this small, I would expect the turning radius to be a little bit better. And one more point I wanted to make about the Ridgeline here is that the leg space is not quite as good as I would like it to be. It is pretty adequate for me being 6'2". It's not bad. I don't feel horribly cramped, but it is a tad bit small. But I will mention that it is a tad bit larger than the Nissan Frontier that I did drive just a couple weeks back. All right, guys, that wraps it up for my review of the Honda Ridgeline HPD here. I hope you enjoyed its many unique little features as much as I did. If you guys did enjoy today's review, leave a like on the video now. Subscribe to the channel to see more reviews just like this in the future. And I'll see you guys in the next one.